Did you write back?
I mean, it's just a birthday thing.
That's not what I asked. I'm 29, and I've been seeing someone for about 8 months. He's 31, texts back at a normal pace, remembers things I've mentioned in passing, the kind of person your friends call solid, and they're exactly right. We're not official in the way that requires a conversation. We're official in the way that you've started buying the kind of snacks the other person likes when you go grocery shopping, and neither of you has commented on it. Last Friday was his birthday. I'd made a reservation at this small Italian place. Nothing fancy, the kind with paper on the tables and candles in wine bottles, because he'd mentioned it once, months ago, in the middle of a completely different conversation, and I just quietly kept it. I got there first, asked for the window table, ordered sparkling water because I knew he preferred it over still. The pasta came and we were somewhere in the middle of eating it when he set his fork down on the ceramic plate. That small sound, the clink of it, and said, almost while still looking at his plate, that his ex had texted him that morning. Just hope you're good. He said it the way you'd mentioned that your commute took longer than usual. He glanced up after he said it, just briefly, and then he picked his fork back up.
You okay?
Yeah.
The pasta's good, right? I think they changed something.
It's the same as last time, I think.
Maybe it's the sauce. I don't know, something's different.
The thing that stayed wasn't the text. Hope you're good is the kind of thing you send to someone when you genuinely don't know what else to say, and you've decided 3 words is the least invasive version of it. The thing that stayed was the timing. His birthday. Not a random Tuesday in March, not a slow Thursday when nothing was happening. His birthday, which is a date with weight on it, the kind of date you'd have to actively choose to text someone on, or actively choose to remember. And there's also the fact that he'd mentioned it here at this dinner, the one I'd planned, the reservation, the sparkling water I'd ordered before he arrived, the window table, and somewhere between the pasta and the wine he'd placed this thing gently in the middle of it. Did you write back?
I mean, it's just a birthday thing.
That's not what I asked.
I haven't figured out what to say yet, honestly.
Okay. I found myself running a kind of calculation I couldn't complete, because I didn't have enough of the variables. I hadn't seen the message. I didn't know which app it came through. I didn't know if he'd replied, and I hadn't asked, and he hadn't said, and asking would have required treating it as a thing worth asking about, which would have required me to admit that it had landed somewhere. At some point, I excused myself to the restroom and stood at the sink for longer than I needed to, looking at the faucet handles, the old-fashioned kind with hot and cold written in small sans-serif letters. That's when it surfaced, without my asking it to. A mutual friend had mentioned, sometime back in September, that his ex had moved back to the city. Is she still in the city now, or…
I'm not really keeping track of that.
Right, no, I know.
Where is this coming from?
Nowhere. I was just… forget it.
You sure?
She'd said it at a gathering. One of those casual things said where everyone is talking at once, and the comment slips through without anyone meaning it to land anywhere in particular. Sometime in the fall, she'd said, or maybe late summer, she wasn't sure. I'd nodded and said something like, oh, right, and the conversation moved on, and I hadn't thought about it again until that bathroom, standing at the sink. Hope you're good. On a birthday from someone who happens to be back in the same city is not a thing. It's barely even a coincidence. I know that. I ran the water. I dried my hands. I went back out.
Tiramisu or we skip it?
Let's get the tiramisu.
Good call. I wasn't actually going to skip it.
I know you weren't.
This was really good, by the way, tonight.
Yeah, it was. When I got back to the table, he was reading the dessert menu, even though we'd basically already decided. And he smiled when I sat down in that easy way he has. And we ordered the tiramisu. In the car afterward, he put on music, and I looked out the window at the passing blocks, and it took me a few minutes to understand that I didn't recognize the playlist. Not in a significant way. Not in any way I could point to. I know most of the music he listens to by now, or I thought I did. The playlists that come on in the car, the ones he puts on when he's cooking, and this one didn't match any of them. I didn't ask about it. There's no version of asking about a playlist that doesn't sound like a different question entirely. When we got home, he went to the bathroom to brush his teeth, and I sat on the edge of the bed, and my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a friend asking how the birthday dinner went. She'd remembered I was planning it. She'd even added a little cake emoji. I picked up the phone and started typing. I got a few words in. Something like, "It was really nice, the place was great." And then I stopped and looked at what I'd written, and it wasn't wrong exactly, and it wasn't right exactly. And I wasn't sure what I'd want to add after it, or whether there was anything to add. I set the phone face down on the nightstand. He came out and we didn't talk about anything in particular, and at some point the light went off. My friend's message was still there in the morning. I looked at it while I was making coffee. I still hadn't typed anything back.